بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقى ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع، من قلب لا يخشع، ومن نفس لا تشبع، من دعوة لا يستجاب لها. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربعة. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في الدرس السادس. We are in our sixth lesson in the explanation of مختصر النحو المفيد. فيما مضى, previously, alhamdulillah, we have finished, we started with al-kalima. We started with al-kalima. What is al-kalima? How many types is it? So we discussed that the kalima is ismun wa fi'lun wa harf. Ismun wa fi'lun wa harf. Then we mentioned some of the signs of ism, alamatul ism, how to identify an ism, and we mentioned that an ism can be identified with the tanween. First of all, with its meaning. It's not a verb. It does not play the role of a harf. It's the name of some place or some person or something or some time, etc. And then we said that it contains tanween, it can contain al, it can contain it can contain or it can have the status of al-jar. These were some of the alamat that we mentioned of al-ism. And then on the other hand, we mentioned the types of af'al, fi'al madi, fi'al mudari, fi'al amr. Well, likewise, al-huruf, we're yet to do that. Then after that, we learned the classifications of ism. Amongst those, the first one was يعني انقسام الاسم إلى مذكر ومؤنث. An ism can be مذكر or مؤنث. Then the next classification was that an ism can be مفرد أو مثنى أو جمع. مفرد أو مثنى أو جمع. ثم قلنا إن الاسم ينقسم إلى معرفة ونكرة. معرفة ونكرة. It can either be معرفة and it can either be نكرة. And in the last session, we just had started the fourth classification, that is an ism can be mu'rab and mabni. طيب. Before that, we had delved into details regarding ma'rifa. That ma'rifa is of 6 types. It can either be dhamir or alam or ism al-ishara or ism al-mawsul or al-mu'arraf bi-al or al-mudaf ila ma'rifa. Al-dhamir, examples of dhamir are those that are muttasil, like متصل مرفوع in subjective case فعلت فعلت فعلتي فعلتما فعلتم فعلتن فعلنا فعلوا وهكذا. And then we have the examples of ضمير متصل which are in objective case, that are منصوب or مجرور مثلا. So we say يعني ضربه ضربهما ضربهن ضربها ضربهما ضربهن وهكذا. وضربك وضربك وضربكما وضربكن وهكذا. These are in objective case or in genitive case, in majrur form as well. Examples for majrur form, we can use them with a mudaf. With a mudaf, we can say, for example, kitabi, kitabuka, kitabuki, kitabukuma, kitabukum, kitabukunna وهكذا. طيب. This is in majrur form. We use the same dhama'ir. Then we had some examples of dhama'ir that are not muttasil, rather they are munfasil. So we said it could either be in a subjective case, like huwa, hiya, anta, ana, nahnu, وهكذا. And they could also be in objective case, like iyaya, iyaka, iyaki, iyana, وهكذا. انتهينا من الضمير. Then we discussed alam. So we said alam is proper noun. Ahmad, Makkah, Al-Madinah, Riyadh, Khalid, وهكذا. طيب. Names of places, persons, animals, Al-Qaswa, مثلا, وهكذا. Then we mentioned ism al-ishara, and we said that ism al-ishara can either be for nearby objects or could be for faraway objects. So it's either هذا or ذلك or هذه or تلك. And then if it's more than one, if it's جمع, then هؤلاء and أولئك and هؤلاء and أولئك, depending on whether it's مذكر and مؤنث. Then after that, we did al-ism al-mawsul, الذي, التي, اللذان, اللذين, اللتان, اللتين, الذين, اللاتي, or اللائي. This was also easy, inshallah, because it occurs very often in the Quran, so everyone is familiar with the ism al-mawsul. طبعا we're just going through a يعني quick recap of everything that we've done so far. الاسم الموصول. After that we did المعرف بال. We said المعرف بال is that nakira to which we added al in order to make it a ma'rifah. So for example, kitabun was nakira. We added to it the al and it became al-kitab. It became al-kitab, so it is al-mu'arraf bi-al. Al-mu'arraf bi-al. And remember this term, al-mu'arraf bi-al. Al-mu'arraf bi-al. Because many of the students, I found them saying al-ma'rifa or kada. They couldn't really memorize this term. So just memorize it. Try saying it thrice or 5 times, 6 times, and inshallah you'll memorize it. Al-mu'arraf bi-al. Al-mu'arraf bi-al. It's that nakira to which we add al in order to make it a ma'rifah. And then finally we did al-mudaf ila ma'rifah in our last lesson. Al-mudaf, we first did what does al-mudaf mean, or what is idafa. So we said idafa is to attribute something to another. To attribute something to another. So for example, the kitab, it's general, but when I say it's Zayd's kitab or kitab of Zayd, I say kitabu Zaydin, al-idafa. So I attributed the kitab to Zayd. I attributed the kitab to Zayd. So it became kitabu Zaydin. So we mentioned a couple of exclusive characteristics of mudaf and mudaf ilayh, that were the 2 facts that al-mudaf, it was noticed in the examples that were given that they didn't contain al-mudaf did not contain al. طيب خال من ال ومن التنوين. It neither contained al nor did it have tanween. It neither contained al nor did it have tanween. قلم زيد رب السماوات باب حديد صوم النهار. None of the mudaf or mudafs had al, nor did it have any tanween. So this was the first thing to be noticed. The second thing was to be noticed was that the mudaf ilayh was always majroor, or in the state of jar, in the state of jar. And we later did what is exactly jar. Inshallah, we'll revise that now. But in order to simplify, at that time we said it's having kasra. It's having kasra. But to be more precise, it was the mudaf ilayh is always in the state of jar. Al mudaf ilayh is always in the state of al jar. طبعا mudaf is the first word and mudaf ilayh is the second word. So the mudaf ilayh is always in a state of jar. This was the second thing that we had noticed. All of this was discussed and mentioned in order to come to the point that the mudaf ilayh, if it is ma'rifah, the mudaf ilayh, if it is ma'rifah, then the mudaf will also be ma'rifah. The mudaf will take the ruling of ma'rifah. So we said, for example, in qalamu Zaydin, because Zayd is ma'rifah, as it is alam, so hence qalam will also take the ruling of ma'rifah. Rabbus samawati, as-samawat, because it is ma'rifah, al-mu'arraf bi-al, so Rabb will also take the same ruling and will be considered as ma'rifah. However, when we come to babu hadidin, we find that hadid is nakira, as it can accept al. We can add al to hadid and we can make it al-hadid. Hence, it is nakira. If hadid is nakira, then babu cannot be ma'rifah. Babu hadidin, bab is not ma'rifah. Bab is not ma'rifah. When we come to sawmun nahar, because al-nahar is ma'rifah, because it is al-mu'arraf bi-al, hence sawm is also ma'rifah. So this was the topic, or this was the point for which we had studied al-idafa. Then we started in the last lesson al-mas'alatu al-rabi'a, that was inqisamu al-ismi ila mu'rab wa mabni. And we said mu'rab is the one that is subject to i'rab. Mu'rab is the word that is subject to i'rab. What is i'rab? I'rab is the ability of an ism to change with the change in its role in the sentence. So if it is the subject, if it's the doer, it takes the state of rafa'. If it is the one upon whom the fi'l is being done, yani the maf'ul, the object, then it takes the state of nasb. If it comes alongside a preposition, a harf jar, like min, ala, an, ila, fi, rubba, mundu, mudh, hakada, if these are huruf jar, we will be studying them. These are the prepositions. So if it comes alongside the preposition, this ism will take the state of jar. So this is the sort of an ism that is mu'rab, which is subject to i'rab, which is subject to change with the change in its role and in the change in awam. Mu'rab is the one that is subject to i'rab, subject to change with the change in its role in the sentence, or with the change in the awamil. The awamil like the huruf jar, or like the fi'al, or like things that influence, that have an effect on the ism, on the ism. On the other hand, we had something that was mabni. And mabni is the one that is not subject to any change, with the change in its role in the sentence or with the change in its awamil. So whether you use inna, whether you use kana, whether you put it along with the harf jar, whether it is the doer, the fa'il, or it is the one upon whom the fi'l is being done, the maf'ul, it does not change. Hada remains hada. It does not change. So whether it's marfu', it will remain hada. Whether it's mansub, hada. Whether it's majroor, hada. طيب. So this was mu'rab and mabni. طبعا we said that there could be 3 different types of i'rab for asma. Yani asma can have 3 statuses or 3 different states. طيب, the asma, يعني asma يعني اسم. An ism can have 3 different states when it comes to i'rab. So i'rab is the variation of an ism or the يعني conversion of the ism from the state of rafa' to state of nasb to state of jar, and vice versa. So the ism can be marfu', there can be mansub, can be jar. There are only 3 states. There are only 3 states that that an ism can alter between or exchange its state between. So what are those 3 states? The first state is called ar-rafa'. The first state is called al-rafa'. The second one is called an-nasb, and the third one is called al-jar. طبعا some call it al-khafd. Some of the ulama, I think it's from the ulama of Basra, they used to call it khafd, and the ulama of Kufa used to call it jar, as far as I remember. But let's just use jar here only. Okay, now an ism that is in the state of rafa', what is it called? An ism that is in the state of rafa', what is it called?
فاعل
مرفوع.
Marfu'. It's called marfu'. An ism that is in the state of rafa' is called marfu'. So you can say ismun marfu'. The one that is in the state of nasb is called
منصوب
mansub. أحسنتم. The one that is in the state of jar is called
مجرور.
majroor. So these are the 3 terms that will be often used inshallah in the upcoming lectures inshallah. So it's marfu', mansub, and majroor. Marfu', mansub, and majroor. طيب. So the ism is in the state of rafa' and it is marfu'. It is marfu' marfu' means in the state of rafa'. Mansub means in the state of nasb. Majroor means in the state of jar. طيب. Then we said that all of these 3 different ahkam that are rafa', nasb, and jar, these 3 different states, these 3 different rulings that are rafa', nasb, and jar, they represent a number of meanings. يعني for example, if the ism is the doer in a sentence, it's the one that is doing the verb, is the fa'il, then it will always take the state of rafa'. It will always take the state of or the ruling of a rafa'. However, if it is the object, if it's the maf'ul, the object upon whom the fi'l is being done, it will take the state of nasb. If it comes alongside a preposition, or it is the mudaf ilayh, it will take the state of
مجرور
al-jar. State of al-jar, or it will be majroor. Likewise, if there is a nominal sentence means a jumla ismiya, the one that has an ism and a khabar. Inshallah, we'll be studying that later on. The one that has an astaghfirullah, mubtada and a khabar, a mubtada and a khabar, a subject and a predicate. So such a sentence in which there is no verb, it's about subject and predicate. It's not a verbal sentence, it's a nominal sentence. The subject, that's the mubtada, will always be marfu'. Likewise, the khabar will always be marfu'. وهكذا. طيب. So these were just some examples. No need to be worried by the fact that you don't remember these or you don't know this stuff. It's all inshallah. So we're going to explain and learn all of it inshallah. Then we said, ya ikhwan, that the ism that is mu'rab, it is of 7 types. The ism that is mu'rab is of 7 types. There could only be 7 types of the ism mu'rab. Okay? Yani any ism that is mu'rab will be one of these 7 types. Any ism in the Arabic language that is mu'rab would be one of these 7 types of ism, would belong to one of these 7 types of ism. واضح? Is that clear, inshallah? Any ism that is mu'rab will belong to one of these 7 types. خلاص?
Inshallah.
Inshallah, clear. Okay, what about the mabni? What about the mabni? Do we have types of mabni as well? Do we can we say these are the types of words that are mabni, and words other than these are all mu'rab? Yes, there's also a qaida for the words that are mabni. So we have a number of types of asma, a number of types of asma that are mabni, a number of types of asma. So we have 7 types of mu'rab ism, the one that is subject to change, the one that gets changed with the change in its role in the sentence. We have 7 such types. When it comes to the mabni, the one that do not change, we also have some types, and hence we put this in the hashia. We didn't put it in the right in the crux of the book. We put it in the footnotes so that the mind of the student does not get confused. So the mabni is of 10 types. Out of these 10 types, we know at least 5. At least 5 we know them. Or most of us, or all of us know the 5, and some of the students might know all of the 10, but us, the ones who have done only Mukhtasar an-Nahw al-Mufid, would know 4 or 5. Ad-Damair. Do you know Ad-Damair, ya shabab?
نعم.
طيب, Ad-Damair are always mabni. They're not subject to any change. They always take only one state. Okay, so they're always mabni. معروف, عرفتم? مبني يعني they're not subject to any change. يعني if you put inna before it, يعني it won't change. طيب, it's always going to take the same shape, the same status. It's the same يعني حركة. أسماء الإشارة. Do you know أسماء الإشارة يا إخوان أخوات?
Yes.
Can you give me some examples of أسماء الإشارة?
هنا ذلك تلك.
لا, أسماء الإشارة نعني به ذلك تلك وهكذا. ذلك تلك. طيب, even though the هنا and هناك أيضا are مبني, but these are الله أعلم, these are حروف والله أعلم. I'm not sure, والله, I'm forgetting if these are ظروف or these are حروف. سبحان الله, you got me confused. على كل حال, أسماء الإشارة نعني به هذا ذلك, the demonstrative pronouns. طيب, أسماء الإشارة, these are always مبني. مثلا جاء ذلك الرجل, رأيت ذلك الرجل, مررت بذلك الرجل. The ذلك remains ذلك in all 3 different states. Whether it's مرفوع, منصوب, or مجرور, it's going to remain the same. It's going to remain the same. طيب, الأسماء الموصولة, heard of these?
نعم شيخ.
Give me some example.
Is it الذين
أحسنت. الذي, التي. طيب, these are all of them are مبني. طيب, أسماء الإشارة and أسماء الموصولة, all of them are مبني except the ones for مثنى. The ones in مثنى, they do have إعراب, like ذانك وذينك, هذان هذان. So they do take some sort of إعراب. أسماء الاستفهام. What is the meaning of استفهام?
Any exclamation mark?
لا, استفهام ليس exclamation.
استلمام.
معلش يا شيخ, كيف؟
يعني question mark يعني.
Question, أحسنتم. نعم, أسماء الاستفهام, the articles, the words, the أسماء used for questioning. Give me some examples for أسماء الاستفهام. أين, كيف, ماذا, من, أين, كيف, ماذا, من, وش بعد عندنا? What else do we have? هاي شيخ. لماذا مثلا.
لماذا.
All of these are always مبني. These are always mabni. They won't take any i'rab. They won't be subject to any change. So these are the 4 types that we already know. Then يعني أسماء الشرط مثل إن is حرف الشرط لكن من again these are similar to أسماء الاستفهام. أسماء الأفعال like صه ومه. And these are, even though these are used as verbs, but they are asma. But this, inshallah, you can learn this later on. Some of the names that end with way, like Sibawayh. Heard of Sibawayh, ya shabab?
أيوة شيخ.
Sibawayh is one of the greatest scholars of Nahw. Sibawayh is arguably the greatest scholar of Nahw. Sibawayh. So his name ends with way. All of the names that end with way are mabni. Sibawayh, Khalawayh, Niftawayh, Rahawayh, وهكذا. All of these names that enter with way are mabni. So what about the dhamir can change form when subject like هذا converts to هذا? هذا is not a dhamir. هذا like هذا converts to ها. هذا is not dhamir. Will it be considered change according to the context? No, it won't be. For example, مثلا, we in subjective form we use huwa. When it becomes an object, we would use, for example, ضربه مثلا. So this is not considered as i'rab because it became a separate a separate ضمير. It's a separate ضمير. It's not the same ضمير anymore. So that's why we won't consider the ضمائر as معرب. طيب الأعداد المركبة. We mean by الأعداد المركبة numbers. For example, the ones that come from 11 to 19. 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19. 11 to 19. Likewise, for the objects that are feminine in gender, you use 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 وهكذا. طبعا there is a difference. I haven't said the same words. There is a difference. I use for the masculine objects I use 19. For the feminine objects, I said 19. So this is there is some difference between the two. You will inshallah be learning this later on. الظروف المركبة مثل this is just for people who already know this stuff. Those who don't ما في إشكال there's nothing to worry about. الظروف المركبة like you say ليل نهار he works day and night and day. ليل نهارا. This is how it's used. صباح مساء. This is also ظروف مركبة. These are مبني. It's صباح مساء. This is not منصوب. This is مبني. بعض الظروف المفردة like إذا وهكذا. Like إذا is also a ظرف that is مفرد. طيب. Coming back. So for the students, all they need to learn from the mabnis right now is these 4. Just put a tick mark on these 4 that you are supposed to just remember that these 4 are mabni. الضمائر, اسماء الإشارة, اسماء الموصولة, and اسماء الاستفهام. Because these are the ones that you know. So remember that these are mabni. These are not mu'rab. These are not mu'rab. واضح? Just remember this. The rest of them, leave them for now. Okay. Now coming back. So let me just rearrange this again. طيب. We are studying right now al-mu'rab and mabni. From the mu'rab, we said as for the mu'rab, there are 7 types of mu'rab. Any ism in Arabic that is mu'rab will not go out of these 7 types. For mabni, we said there are 10 types, out of which we'll be learning only 4 types. We'll just memorize these 4 types. ضمائر, أسماء الإشارة, أسماء الموصولة, and أسماء الاستفهام. هذه نعرفها. We know them already. But the main subject here that we're going to study in this chapter, in this mas'ala, is the 7 types of ism mu'rab. The 7 types of ism mu'rab. Okay, طيب. نأتي إليها. Let's come to it. Let's go to it. الأسماء المعربة. Okay. الاسم المفرد. الاسم المفرد the the normal noun for a singular object, right? Anything. I mean, whether it's a name for one person, whether it's a common noun for one person, this is called ism mufrad. This is called ism mufrad. Kitab, qalam, Zayd, Muhammad, Mas'ad, kursi, bab, sayyara. All of these are asma mufrada. These are asma mufrada. Whether they are muannath, whether they are mudhakkar, as long as they are for one object or one thing or one person or one place, these are called asma. These are called ism mufrad. Ism mufrad. What is the meaning of mufrad?
Singular.
Singular. Ahsant. Ahsant. Singular. طيب. As long as it is for one person, it's called ism mufrad. Ism mufrad. طيب يا شباب, is that clear إن شاء الله?
نعم.
نعم.
مفرد singular. مفرد singular. طيب. So we know اسم مفرد, we know it. الحمد لله. Now coming to المثنى. What is المثنى يا إخوان أخوات?
دول.
أحسنتم, دول. خلاص. Then that means that we also know المثنى. We already know what is المثنى. So any ism that is in dual form, that is in pairs, is called المثنى. واضح? Can you give me some example? Like for example, kitab is mufrad. So what is the dual form of kitab?
كتابين.
كتاباني or كتابين. طيب. What is the dual form of qalam?
قلمان وقلمين.
طيب. What is the dual form of عثمان?
عثمانان عثمانين.
أحسنت. عثمانان وعثمانين. أحسنت. طيب ممتاز. Okay. What is the dual form of bab? سيارتان. ممتاز. سيارتان. باباني بابين. سيارتان سيارتين. هذه المثنى. جمع. What is جمع? Plural. We know this, right? Okay. We know that the jama' was of two types, the broken jama' and the safe and sound jama', right? Remember this? What do we mean by breakage in a jama'? I mean, what is the meaning of a jama' being broken? What is this breakage that we're talking about?
Addition or subtraction.
Addition or subtraction. طيب يا مصطفى, مثلا عندك أسد, its جمع is أسد. ماذا نعمل الآن? There is no addition, there is no subtraction.
If there is subtraction of a haraka and addition of another one.
طيب. So you meant an addition of any haraka or any letter, or subtraction of any letter or any haraka. تمام صحيح؟
نعم نعم.
نعم ممتاز. So any change that occurs in the mufrad, in the singular form, if there is any change that occurs in the singular form, whether it's in the haraka or it is in the letters or in the arrangement of letters, or if there's something is added or something is removed, this makes the jama', this renders the jama' as mukassar, broken jama'. However, when we come to jama' salim, it's the jama' in which the sigha of the mufrad, the form of the mufrad, it remains safe and sound from any sort of breakage. So Muslim in Muslimun will remain Muslim. Muslim. There will be no change in haraka, there will be no addition in the letters, or neither will there be any removal of any letter. Likewise in mu'minat, which is the jama' of mu'minah, the mu'min, which is the singular form, the mu'min, that remains safe and sound. It's not subject to any change in haraka, nor to any change in the number of letters or in the arrangement, or etc. So is that clear, inshallah? Jama' taksir and jama' salim?
Free question in the chat, yeah, Sheikh.
There's a question in the chat. Oh, questions. The mukassar, there is addition or deletion of some huruf. Please repeat again how it is broken. How it is broken. Please repeat again how it is broken. طيب. For example, you have kitab, it became kutub. What happened here? Is there any change in haraka? Is there any change in the letters? You tell me, the one who asked the question. Yes, where is the change in the letters? What letter did we add? We added طيب. we removed the alif. ممتاز. We didn't add anything. We removed the alif. أحسنتم. طيب. We removed the alif and we changed the haraka of the kaf to dhamma and the one of the ta to dhamma. So there is some change that is occurring. This is what is breaking. This is what renders a jam' as mukassar. This is what makes it mukassar or broken. Mukassar. طيب. جمع التكسير. Okay. When we come to, for example, asad, which is whose plural is usdun. What is the change that occurs here? Okay, أفهم. كيف؟ طيب ما فهمت لكن المهم كان اتضح. I think it's واضح. So there's a change in حركة. So this makes it جمع مكسر. However, when it comes to جمع سالم, there is no change in حركة or in the letters. So مؤمن is مؤمنون. You just add واو النون. مؤمنة is مؤمنات. You just add ألف and تاء. وهكذا. طيب. Well, how many times is جمع سالم? Two types. Okay, مذكر and مؤنث. For example, if you have a word like Muslim, how will you make the جمع سالم of Muslim?
مسلمون.
And what is the other form that it could take? Muslimuna and
مسلمين.
Muslimina. طيب. What is the جمع of مسلمة? The جمع مؤنث سالم. مسلمات. ممتاز. مسلمات. طيب. مثلا عندنا الآن نقول ماذا نقول؟ طيب نقول كافر. What is the جمع of كافر؟
كافرون.
كافرون أو كافرين. أحسنتم. طيب والكافرة. What is the جمع of كافرة؟
كافرات.
كافرات. تن. طيب ممتاز. أحسنت. Okay. What is the جمع of باب؟
أبواب.
أبواب. هل هذا جمع مكسر أم هذا جمع مذكر سالم؟
مكسر.
هذا جمع مكسر. That means باب does not have any جمع مذكر سالم. It does not have any جمع سالم. طيب. What are the things that have جمع سالم? Or what type of things do have جمع مذكر سالم?
عاقل things.
أحسنت. If the عاقل objects like persons, any people, humans, these are the ones for whom we use جمع مذكر سالم. And if something is non-عاقل, whether it's an animal or it's just something, an object, then we use for them جمع مكسر like باب أبواب, قلم أقلام, كتاب كتب. مثلا وكذلك ماذا عندنا أيضا؟ What else do we have? مثلا رسالة رسائل وهكذا. طيب ممتاز. Okay, out of these 7 we are done with يعني we know 5 of these. But what about الممنوع من الصرف? What is الممنوع من الصرف? Do we know الممنوع من الصرف? Have we done this before in this book?
لا.
لا ما أخذنا. طيب هل أخذنا الأسماء الخمسة في هذا الكتاب؟
لا.
ما أخذنا الأسماء الخمسة في هذا الكتاب. إذن يا أيها الإخوة الكرام والأخوات الكريمات سنأخذ الممنوع من الصرف. سنتعلم ما هو الممنوع من الصرف ونتعلم ما هي الأسماء الخمسة بعد الصلاة بإذن الله تعالى. After the prayer إن شاء الله we will be learning what is الممنوع من الصرف and what are الأسماء الخمسة, the 5 names, the 5 nouns. الأسماء الخمسة, the 5 nouns. الممنوع من الصرف, what does it mean? It means الممنوع من التنوين. الممنوع من التنوين. طيب الممنوع من التنوين. In the meantime, think of the names of prophets that contain tanween in the Quran. names of prophets that contain tanween. And just before, don't look it up in Google. For those who know this fa'idah already, then they should keep it to themselves for now. There are only 6 prophets whose names contain tanween in the Quran. So the rest of them are all ممنوع من الصرف, are all ممنوع من الصرف. How about the 5 مفاعل? What are 5 مفاعل يا مفاعيل? What about them? These are part of نعم, these are part of the ممنوع من الصرف, but I haven't mentioned them. I have mentioned only a few so that it becomes easier for everyone. Okay, I'll just mention the خلاص إن شاء الله. Let's just mention the مفاعيل as well. صيغة منتهى الجموع. على كل حال, the homework for now is for until we finish with the prayer, just mention the names of those prophets whose names contain tanween in the Quran. There are only 6. There are only 6. طيب. نكتفي بهذا الآن. وبعد الصلاة نكمل بإذن الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نعم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين, أما بعد. Correction here, Ahmad was right. Ahmad says هنا وهنالك وهناك أيضا, هذه تعتبر أيضا أسماء الإشارة. These are also considered as أسماء الإشارة, but these are considered أسماء الإشارة for places and not for persons or objects. So هنا this place, this place. وهناك that place or هنالك. It's just like هذا وذلك. It's هنا and هنالك. However, it's used for places and it's not for objects. So that's why I was a bit confused. So Ahmad was right. Jazakumullahu khairan. And these are also these are also Allah yabarik fikum mabniya. These are also mabniya. However, when the asma al-ishara that we did in the book were the ones that point towards objects, the one that points towards objects. So we only mentioned those in our classification. Wallahu musta'an. طيب. نعم, الممنوع من الصرف. نبدأ الآن. بسم الله. Before that, did anyone find out the names of the 6 prophets that contain tanween, while all of the other prophets, their names do not have any tanween? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that's number 1. Okay. Well, who else? نوح عليه السلام. إنا أرسلنا نوحا. نعم, أحسنت.
لوط عليه السلام.
طيب, let's just write it down here. Muhammad عليه صلى الله عليه وسلم. نوح عليه السلام. لوط عليه السلام. Who else?
شعيب.
أحسنت. شعيب. And let me just check the chat as well. لوط and شعيب. أحسنتم. شعيب. Who else?
صالح.
إذا أنت حافظها. لا بأس عليك. صالح. نعم. مريم is the name of a female. ليست نبية على الصحيح. Nabi is the one who is sent for da'wah, who is sent to call people to Islam and propagate the religion of Allah, of Allah. Maryam alayhi salam wasn't appointed or to do this. And secondly, her name does not contain any tanween either. Like, one is left. Ishaq does not have any tanween. It's not Ishaq. Hud, ahsant. طيب. Easy way. Who can tell me the easy way to memorize these 6 names? هذه فائدة تحفظ. This is a فائدة that must have been taken from someone. مشايخ. Who can tell me the easy way to memorize this? Does anyone know the easy way to memorize these names? The easy way to memorize these names, ikhwa, is to memorize just this one word in Arabic. We say it like this: Sun Shamlah. Sun Shamlah. Just memorize Sun Shamlah. Okay, what does it represent? Sun Shamlah. Sad represents Salih. Noon is for Nuh. Sheen is for Shu'aib. Mim is for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Lam is for Lut alayhi salam, and Ha is for Hud alayhi salam. Right? So just remember as Sun Shamlah. These are the only names, only prophets whose name contain tanween. All of the rest of the prophets, rest of them, all of them, their names do not contain tanween. They are mamnu' min as-sarf. Mamnu'. What is the meaning of mamnu', ya shabab?
Not allowed.
Ahsant. Forbidden or not allowed. صح? Prohibited. What are the names prohibited from or not allowed to do, forbidden from? Min as-sarf. What is as-sarf? Sarf refers to, it's another word for tanween. Sarf is another word for tanween. Sarf is another word for tanween. عرفتم يا إخوة? Do you understand now? Sarf is another word for tanween. So these names are forbidden from tanween. That's it. And these names do not contain tanween. Okay. What other names do not contain tanween, or what are the types of names that do not contain tanween? Not names, nouns. What are the types of nouns that do not contain tanween? And despite being isim, an isim that should contain tanween, they don't contain any tanween. They are mamnu' min as-sarf. Okay. The types of names that do not contain tanween, ya ikhwa, despite them being اسم مفرد مثلا or جمع مكسر, they should contain tanween, but they don't. الأسماء الأعجمية, foreign names. الأسماء الأعجمية, foreign names. What is foreign names? Any name that is not an Arabic name. Any name that is not an Arabic name does not contain tanween, even though it's اسم مفرد. It's singular, but it won't contain tanween. So all of the Prophet's names are non-Arabic names. They are not Arabic names, except Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Salih and Hud. These are the ones who were Arabs. Shu'aib also was Arab. طيب. When it comes to Lut and Nuh, then there we have another exception due to which their name contains tanween. But generally speaking, al-asma'ul a'jamiyya, foreign names, all names that are not Arabic names, they do not contain any tanween. طيب. فمثلا, if you name a city that is, for example, let's say مثلا London. طيب بالعربي كيف نكتب London؟ طيب هل تضعون تنوينا على آخره؟ Will you put a tanween at the end of London?
No.
No. Why won't we put a tanween? Because it's a foreign name. It's not an Arabic name. London is not an Arabic name. طيب. كذلك مثلا عندك غيرها من المدن. What else do we have? Any foreign. مثلا ايش عندنا؟ طيب اعطوني مثال. Just any example. مثلا برلين. طيب هل تضعون تنوينا على آخره؟ Will you put a tanween at the end of Berlin؟ لا أبدا، لأنه اسم أعجمي. أعجمي يعني foreign. أعجمي non-Arab. طيب ممتاز. أسماء الإناث. The second type of names that do not contain any tanween are names of females or feminine objects. Right? Proper or you can say أعلام or أعلام الإناث. أعلام, proper nouns. Just cancel this asma out and write أعلام. أعلام الإناث. Just write here أعلام. Okay? Any proper nouns that are for females. They do not contain tanween. Write in place of asma, write أعلام. طيب. أعلام الإناث. Proper names for females do not contain tanween. مثلا عائشة أو عائشة عائشة مثلا. مثلا زينب زينب مثلا. They don't contain, have tanween ever. مريم 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 وهكذا. كذلك مثلا in the Quran we don't have names of females except Maryam alayhi salam. But let's say in the ahadith مثلا فاطمة without tanween, always without tanween. So أعلام الإناث, the proper names, nouns that are for females, they never have tanween. They never have tanween. واضح? Is that clear? Okay, for example, Jahannam. Does Jahannam have tanween in the Quran?
Yes, I think so.
فين؟ أعطيني مثالا. Tell me. Where does it have tanween?
خلاص ما أعرف.
لا ليس فيه تنوينا. ليس فيه تنوين. It does not have any tanween. Why? Because Jahannam is the name for what? For an-Nar. What is an-Nar? Is it feminine or is it masculine? An-Nar.
Feminine.
أحسنت, feminine. ممتاز. So the Jahannam does not contain tanween. And also I think there's another opinion with regards to this. They say the Jahannam is a foreign name or something like that. But على كل حال it's an alam for مؤنث. It's an alam for مؤنث. أسماء الإناث, or let's just say أعلام المؤنث. أعلام المؤنث. You can just write here أعلام المؤنثات مثلا. أعلام المؤنث. Anything that is feminine and it has a proper noun, proper name, proper noun, then this will always be ممنوع من الصرف. طيب الأسماء or الأعلام, الأسماء أيضا خطأ. الأسماء خطأ. يعني هذا this again I've made a mistake here. To write أسماء is خطأ. Just write الأعلام here again. الأعلام, the proper nouns. الأعلام. الأعلام المؤنثة لفظا. That those proper nouns that are مؤنث in their words. They refer to males, they might refer to males, but their words are مؤنث. مثلا, give me an example of a word that is مؤنث but it refers to a male.
أسامة.
Hamza.
أسامة, طلحة, حمزة, وهكذا, معاوية, وهكذا. But write examples. Always write examples. The examples are the thing that make it the easiest for you to recognize what does this refer to. So الأعلام المؤنثة لفظا. That the proper nouns that might refer to males, that might refer to females. Like also be Aisha, Fatima. These are also, but the most important thing is that their words contain ta marbuta. The proper nouns and أعلام is the jam of alam. Alam is the jam of alam, and we know what is alam. Alam is proper noun. طيب. Likewise, Makkah. Will you say Makkatu or will you say Makkatun?
Two.
Makkatu. Well, you won't say Makkatun. Likewise, in the Quran, إن أول بيت وضع للناس للذي ببكة للذي ببكة مباركة. طيب, Makkah here is named as Bakkah. And Bakkah, because it's a name, and that name or this proper noun contains ta marbuta, it would not have any tanween. So it did not say by bakkatin. It did not say bi bakkatin. It said bi bakkata. Mubarakan wa hudan lil alamin. واضح يا إخوة؟
إن شاء الله شيء.
طيب. طيبة مثلا. طيبة. طيبة ولا طيبة؟ referring to Medina. طيبة. أحسنت. وليست طيبة because it's ممنوع من الصرف. It cannot have tanween. Why can't it have tanween? Because it's a proper noun and it contains ta marbuta. It contains ta marbuta, or it contains any يعني علامة of تأنيث, whether it contains ألف مقصورة or ألف ممدودة. For example, ألف ممدودة مثلا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran مثلا to يعني مثلا the ones يعني yeah, and when it comes to the other two علامات of تأنيث, they are يعني they're not necessarily in a'lam, even in things. يعني, for example, والذين معه أشداء أشداء, even though this is not a proper noun, but when it comes to the other two alamat of ta'nith, the other two signs of ta'nith, which are the alif maqsoor and alif mamdudah, it's not necessary that the noun be a proper noun. It could be any noun. If it has alif al-ta'nith al-maqsoora or it has alif al-ta'nith al-mamdudah, then it would be mamnu' min as-sarf. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. Likewise, علماء. طيب, all of this would be mamnu' min as-sarf, mamnu' min as-sarf. But we're not going into too many details. We're not going to go into too many details. طيب, is that clear, inshallah?
Inshallah.
طيب. الأسماء التي على وزن فعل, على وزن فعل. The names that have the same sound and same scale as verbs. For example, we have a name, Yazid. Yazid is also a word and it's also a name. So if the name comes exactly like a verb, then it will be ممنوع من الصرف, Yazid. كذلك مثلا أحمد. Ahmad is a verb. أحمد يعني أحمد يحمد to praise something or to praise something. Ahmad, because it comes at on the same wazn and same scale as a fi'l, it will be also mamnu' min as-sarf. Ahmad. Likewise, all the names that come on the scale of af'al, akthar or ahsan or afdal, وهكذا. All of, whether it's a pronoun, whether it's a common noun, it's an adjective, it will be mamnu' min as-sarf as long as it's on the scale, on the same scale as the fi'l. طيب. What else do we have? We have a name of a tribe, a qabila, تغلب. التغلبي, التغلب. It's very famous. It's an Arab tribe, تغلب. You can find it in the seerah. تغلب. This is also considered as mamnu' min as-sarf because it's coming on the same scale as a fi'l. طيب, as a verb. الأسماء التي على وزن فعل. The names, the nouns that are on the scale of fu'al. Fu'al is like, they have three root letters. The first root letter has a dhamma, the second one has a fatha. For example, Umar. Umar. This is going to be mamnu' min as-sarf because it's on the scale of fu'al. Likewise, أخر. طبعا أخر is عدل. خلونا من هذا. Or maybe it's أخر is from this, الله أعلم. It's عدل is when it is سحر and طيب على كل حال ما في إشكال. Then we have Zufar. Zufar was the student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Zufar. طيب. So all of these names will be mamnu' min as-sarf because they are on the scale of fu'al. On the scale of fu'al. These are just examples. طيب. وغير ذلك. وأضفنا إلى هذا, we can add to this. You can add to this here, يا إخوان. صيغة منتهى الجموع. صيغة منتهى الجموع. What is this all about? صيغة منتهى الجموع يا إخوة. It refers to الجمع المكسر الذي بعد ألفه. Don't write this inshallah. If you want to write it, you can write, but those who are finding it difficult, they can write it later on inshallah. الجمع المكسر الذي بعد ألفه حرفان فأكثر. طيب. So it refers to that جمع مكسر in which there is an alif, and after the alif there are two letters or more, two or more. So let me just give you some examples for this. First of all, give me an example of a جمع مكسر that has an alif. What is the جمع of رجل?
رجال.
رجال. Do we have an alif in this?
نعم.
How many letters do we have after the alif?
One.
One. So it will have tanween. Okay, but what is the jama' of let's say masjid?
مساجد.
Masajid. Do we have an alif in the jama'? Taksir?
Yes.
How many letters are there after the alif?
2.
So this will be mamnu' min as-sarf. This will not contain tanween. What is the jama' of qa'idah?
قواعد.
قواعد. أحسنت. قواعد. Do we have an alif in the jama'?
نعم.
إذا الجمع تكسير طبعا. We have an alif in the jama' تكسير. How many letters do we have after the alif?
2.
طيب إذن هذا أيضا سيكون ممنوعا من الصرف. طيب what is the جمع of مصباح؟
مصابي.
مصابيح. مصابيح. Do we have an alif in this جمع مكسر؟
نعم.
طيب كم حرفا بعد الألف؟
3.
طيب إذن هذا أيضا إيش؟ This is also going to be ممنوع من الصرف. This will also not have any تنوين. In the Quran مصابيح. مصابيح did not say مصابيحا. It said مصابيح without the تنوين. So this is something that is supposed to be added to this list. And there are other ممنوع من الصرف as well. But this topic, because it's so vast, if we do it now, we would be يعني, pretty much we would be left confused, and all the information would become cluttered, and we wouldn't be able to focus on the main topic. The main topic here is al-asma al-mu'raba, the ism that is mu'rab. Okay, amongst this, the asma that are mu'raba, which are the 7 types, we have a type that is named as al-mamnu' min as-sarf. We have a type that is named as mamnu' min as-sarf. Mamnu' min as-sarf refers to those nouns that do not contain tanween, even though they should have contained tanween, because generally speaking, ism mufrad or ism mufrad generally contains a tanween. But mamnu' min as-sarf is that ism mufrad or that jama' mukassar. Even jama' mukassar contains tanween. Kutubun, rijalun. So mamnu' min as-sarf is referring to those asma mufrada, those ism mufrad, or those جمع مكسر that do not contain تنوين. طيب, so this is ممنوع من الصرف. This is what is ممنوع من الصرف. That اسم مفرد. Just you can write this down as well. That اسم مفرد and that جمع مكسر that does not, that is forbidden from tanween. Right? So this is mamnu' min as-sarf. What are those asma mufrada? If it's a foreign name, mamnu' min as-sarf. If it's the name of a female, proper noun for a female, it's mamnu' min as-sarf. If it is a proper noun that contains ta marbuta, it is mamnu' min as-sarf. If it is any noun that contains alif al-ta'nith al-maqsura or alif al-ta'nith al-mamduda, it's mamnu' min as-sarf. If it's a noun that is on the scale of a verb like Yazid, Ahmad, Akthar, Afdal, Ahsan, وهكذا, whether it's a normal noun, it's a common noun, or a proper noun, it's going to be mamnu' min as-sarf. And the nouns that are on the scale of fu'al like Umar, Zufar, these are also considered as mamnu' min as-sarf. Likewise, that jama' mukassar in which there is an alif, and after the alif we have 2 or more letters, this is also mamnu' min as-sarf. Okay, then now is mamnu' min as-sarf clear, inshallah? Is mamnu' min as-sarf clear, inshallah?
No.
Do we have any questions regarding the mamnu' min as-sarf? ما فيش. طيب ما في أسئلة، ليست هناك أي أسئلة. طيب. Okay. Once we're done with al-mamnu' min as-sarf, there was another type that we didn't know of, and these are al-asma' al-khamsa, the 5 nouns. What are al-asma' al-khamsa? These 5 nouns نقول المراد بها خمسة أسماء. These are 5 nouns in the state في حال, in the state of إضافة, state of إضافة, في حال إضافتها, of إضافة. What is إضافة? When you attribute something to another. إلى الأسماء الظاهرة والضمائر. These are 5 names when they are in the state of إضافة to any other noun or to pronouns, to any normal nouns or to pronouns. طيب, the أسماء الظاهرة, we mean by أسماء الظاهرة all the nouns other than pronouns. طيب, أسماء الظاهرة, الأسماء الظاهرة refer to nouns other than pronouns, and الضمائر pronouns. سوى ضمير المتكلم. سوى means except the ضمير, the pronoun for متكلم, for the first person. فهي أبوك, أخوك, حموك, وفوك, وذو مال. You have to memorize this. You will have to memorize these 5 asma. These are called al-asma al-khamsa. These are 5 asma that have a special way of i'rab. They have a special treatment when it comes to i'rab. When it comes to the changes that occur in these words, they have a special way. And this special way is exclusive to these 5 nouns. It's exclusive to these 5 nouns. So we have abuka, akhuka, hamuka, fuka, wa dhu mal. These are examples. It can also be Abu Fulan, Abu Bakr, Abu Muhammad, Abu Ahmad. All of this can be given as an example. But just for the sake of example, we just use the pronoun for mukhatab, for kaf. لحظة. طيب, أبوك, أخوك, حموك. What is the meaning of أبوك?
Your father.
What is أبوك?
Your father.
Your father. أبوك, your father. أخوك. Your brother. حموك.
Your
كيف يا إخوان؟ والله I can't hear you. Subhanallah, there is some problem with it. حموك, your brother, your father, that's done. خلاص. حموك. That is the. مرة أخرى يا مصطفى.
in-law.
In-laws. أحسنت. Your male in-laws. Your male in-laws. فمثلا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ماذا قال؟ قال إياكم الدخول على النساء. يعني do not enter upon the females. Do not enter upon women. So the Sahabi asked, أرأيت الحموى? And what about? Tell me about the in-laws, like the brother-in-law, or the uncles of the husband, for example. So he said, Al-hamul maut. The in-laws are as dangerous as death, because they have the greatest access to that particular female in the household. So they are a greater danger than a stranger who comes from outside, because this person has access, because he's a family member, or he's close to the brothers, so he enters in the house and he visits the house. The stranger, of course, everyone is wary of the stranger, but no one is wary of the in-laws. So the Prophet ﷺ emphasized the danger of the in-laws with saying, Al-hamul maut. The in-laws are maut. They are as dangerous as death. واضح? Because they have access to what strangers don't have access to. And people usually have husn al-dhann. They think positive about their in-laws, which is why if there is lots of ikhtilaf that takes place within families, many families are destroyed because of this. because they don't take heed from the warning of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-ham wal maut. طبعا here al-ham in the hadith does not include the father-in-law, because the father-in-law is a mahram, of the woman, of the daughter-in-law. So in the hadith, because we already know that the father-in-law is a mahram, so this hadith that does not include the father-in-law. So the father-in-law is the mahram, but it includes the other in-laws, whether it's the uncle of the husband or whether it's the brother of the husband. وهكذا. طيب, this is hamuka. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الحم والموت. Fuka. What is fuka?
Females in law.
كيف يا أخي؟
Your mouth.
Your mouth. أحسنتم. فوكا يعني your mouth. جزاك الله خير. Your mouth. طيب. So if you want to say his mouth, you will say فوه. طيب. Or you will say, if you want to say, for example, my mouth, then this is going to be different. It's not going to be fu, it's going to be fi. Fiya. ذو مال. ما معنى ذو مال؟
Possessor of money.
أحسنت. Possessor of wealth, let's say. ذو مال. ذو يعني possessor. For example, ذو السيارة, the one with the سيارة, the possessor of the car. ذو مثلا ذو لحية, the one with the beard, the possessor of the beard, the one with the beard. ذو معنى يعني ذو معناه the possessor or the one with. For example, يعني ذو شأن. يعني ذو شأن هذا يعني he has a great rank and stature. He has a شأن. شأن is rank and stature. ذو شأن. And from it comes the name ذي شأن or ذي شان. ذي شان because يعني in Urdu language, Allahu Alam, they only use the ya for in the meaning of ذو. They don't have the i'rab. They don't have ذو ذا ذي. So they only use one form that is ذي. But when it comes to Arabic, we have ذو, ذا, and ذي. Right? So ذو, ذا, and ذي, they all refer to possession or someone with something. طيب. Okay. هذه الأسماء الخمسة. How would you say, for example, if you want to say her father, كيف تقول her father? أبوها. طيب. كيف تقول your لا ما هو your their brother, referring to a group of males. Their brother. أخوهم. أبوهم أخوهم وهكذا. طيب. Her in-law. حمو. Her in-law. حمو. هاي شباب. حموها. نعم. ومثلا his mouth فوه و her mouth فوها مثلا وهكذا. طيب حموها. ممتاز. اوكي. ناتي الى مثلا اوكي. Then when we mentioned الضمائر, we said except ضمير المتكلم, except the ضمير المتكلم, and you should add to this المفرد. ضمير المتكلم المفرد. These are some, subhanallah, when you teach stuff, you you realize there are some there's نقص in the كتاب. ضمير المتكلم المفرد. What we mean by ضمير المتكلم المفرد, the ضمير the يا إلا يا المتكلم سوى يا المتكلم. We mean by ضمير المتكلم المفرد يا المتكلم. So when you say my father, you would not say أبوي. خطأ. Many in Saudi they say أبوي. أبوي جاء. أو أبويا. They say أبويا. هذا خطأ. This is خطأ. How do you say my father in Arabic? Abi. How would you say my brother? أخي. أحسنت. أخي. أبي أخي. You wouldn't say أخوي or أخويا. خطأ. طيب. How would you say my in-law?
حموي.
لا حمي. حمي. بس حموك حمي. طيب. الله أعلم. طيب فوك كيف تقول my mouth؟
في
في أحسنت في. طيب ممتاز في. أو في. This is because there are a couple of ya's in there. الله أعلم. في يا ممكن والله نحتاج إلى نظر. طيب وهكذا. طيب ممتاز. So this ya of متكلم that the pronoun that is for the first person singular ياء المتكلم, this يعني these rules are not applied with the ياء المتكلم. So you don't say أبويا, you say أبي. You don't say أخويا, you say أخي. You don't say حمويا, you say حمي وهكذا. طيب نأتي الآن إلى يعني now let's discuss how the 7 different types of asma that are mu'rab, that are subject to change with the change in the roles in the sentence, or with the change in the awamil, like inna, kana, or ism, or harf jar, preposition. How do they change along with the changes in the in the sentence, in the meanings? As for al-ism al-mufrad, so it is easy. Dhamma in the state of rafa'. So if it is the doer, dhamma. If it is the one upon whom the fi'l is being done, let's say the object, maf'ul, then in the state of al-nasb, fatha. جاء زيد رأيت زيدا. واضح? And when it comes along with a preposition like ba or ala or ila, prepositions, ila, ala, ba, مثلا ba يعني be, then it has a kasra. When it is in the state of al-jar, it has a kasra. When it is in the state of al-jar, it has a kasra. طيب. Now let's just first, it's very important to realize that the basic and the default sign of the state of rafa', the default sign of the state of rafa' is ad-dhamm. We have mentioned this in the footnotes. We said علامات الإعراب إما أصلية وإما فرعية. They could either be primary or they could either be secondary. فالأصلية, the primary علامات of إعراب, the main, the basic, the default علامات of إعراب, the default signs of إعراب, in the state of rafa' you have a ضمة. جاء زيد. In the state of rafa', the default علامة is ضمة. علامة أصلية. For the state of fath, for the state of nasb, يعني if the ism is mansoob, then the علامة of the default علامة is al-fathah. واضح? If the ism is in the state of jar, then the default علامة of jar is al-kasrah. جاء زيد رأيت زيدا مررت بزيد. احفظ هذه الأمثلة. Memorize these 3 examples. These are going to be repeated all your lives. As long as you study Nahw or teach Nahw, these examples will always be repeated all your life. Or ضربت زيدا to be more precise. طيب. جاء زيد رأيت زيدا مررت بزيد. These are the default علامة, the default signs of rafa', of nasb, and of jar. Now let's just ignore the meanings that are represented by rafa'. Let's just ignore the meanings that are represented by nasb. Let's just ignore the meanings that are represented by jar. Right now, just focus on the fact that the ism can take up to 3 different states. It can take the form of rafa', it can take the form of nasb, and it can take the form of jar. In the state of rafa', the default sign that it should have at its end, it's a dhamma. جاء زيد. Or مثلا جاء الرجل. مثلا if you use in place of Zayd, let's just use الرجل. So we would say جاء الرجل. ورأيت الرجل. يلا يا شباب, رأيت الرجل. لا. ومررت بالرجل. مررت بالرجل. This is the default يعني sign that an ism would take. If it's in the state of رفع ضمة. If it's in the state of نصب فتحة. If it's in the state of جر كسرة. This is the default primary sign an ism would take. ضمة فتحة كسرة. Remember this. Just keep this in order. رفع نصب جر ضمة فتحة كسرة. رفع نصب جر ضمة فتحة كسرة. طيب. Can we memorize this inshallah? Is this easy?
Inshallah.
طيب. Let's just first then study something that is similar to al-ism al-mufrad in terms of the signs that it takes in the state of رفع نصب جر. Okay. Looking at these يا إخوان, looking at these 7 types or the rest of the 6 types, which one is the most similar to al-ism al-mufrad when it comes to their signs? It has the same signs in the state of رفع نصب jar as al-ism al-mufrad. Which one? Which one of these, which one of the rest of the 6 has the same signs in the state of رفع, the same علامة in the state of نصب, the same علامة in the state of jar?
جمع تقصير.
جمع التكسير. ممتاز. So let's first do جمع التكسير. جمع التكسير يا إخوة. Okay, let me just use another color. جمع التكسير. جمع التكسير, the broken plural, or الجمع المكسر, as in can either be said the جمع of breaking, of breakage, or the broken plural, الجمع المكسر. It also takes the same signs, the same علامات. And now let's do away with the word sign and use the word علامة. Right? The word that we'll be using from now on for sign is علامة. So جمع التكسير يا إخوة or الجمع المكسر has the same علامات as الاسم المفرد. So when الجمع المكسر is in the state of رفع, what is the علامة that it takes at the end of the word?
الضمة.
الضمة. فتقول مثلا جاء الرجال. جاء الرجال. طيب مثلا كيف تقول مثلا تريد أن تقول the books came. جاءت الكتب. كتبوا ولا كتبا أم كتبي? The books have arrived. جاءت الكتب, because كتب is جمع تكسير, جمع مكسر. جاءت الكتب. طيب علامات is better saying than حركات. No, we say the علامة means the sign. Yeah, it's حركات, but then if you could notice يا أحمد, in the rest of the words we won't have حركات anymore. The ones that are going to the thing that will represent رفع نصب جر will be a letter. That's why we use the word علامة. So it remains generic. Right? Like in مؤمنين, مؤمنين. We don't have a change in حركة. We have a change in letters. That's why we call it علامة. طيب علامة means a sign of رفع. يعني if this noun, this ism is in the state of رفع. What is the sign? What is the evidence that it is in the state of رفع? It has a ضمة at the end of it. What is the sign that رأيت الرجال? What is the sign that الرجال is in this? Astaghfirullah. What is the sign that الرجال is in the state of نصب? الفتحة. Now, what is the sign in مررت بالرجال that الرجال is in the state of جر?
كسرة.
كسرة. رأيت الرجال مررت بالرجال. Now you want to say I saw the books. كيف تقول رأيت الكتب؟
كتب.
رأيت الكتب. I passed by the books. مررت بكذا يعني to pass by something. I passed by the books. مررت بالكتب.
B.
أحسنتم. طيب. رأيت المساجد. رأيت المساجد.
دا
أحسنتم, because it's in the state of نصب. مررت بالمساجد.
دي
أحسنتم, جمع تكسير كسرة. ممتاز. Okay, any other examples of جمع التكسير؟ مثل مصابيح, we mentioned مصابيح جمع تكسير. طيب, رأيت المصابيح.
حا
أحسنتم. مررت بالمصابيح.
إيه
أحسنتم, وهكذا. طيب, أحسنتم. طيب, خلاص. This is جمع التكسير. So when جمع التكسير is in the state of رفع, it takes a ضمة. When it's in the state of نصب, it takes a فتحة at its end. And when it's in the state of jar, it takes a kasra at its end. طيب. Okay. This was the easier one. Let's come to the مثنى. Let's come to the مثنى. طيب. When it comes to مثنى يا إخوة, notice the changes that occur. جاء الرجلان, رأيت الرجلين, مررت بالرجلين. رجلان, رجلين, رجلين. What are the changes that are occurring in this word? رجلان, رجلين, رجلين. What are the changes that are occurring in this word?
فتحة
addition
الألف and الياء. أحسنتم. ألف and ياء. So in the state of رفع, the مثنى contains ألف. جاء الرجلان. But when it is in the state of نصب, or it is in the state of jar, it would contain a ياء instead of an ألف. As for the noon, the kasra, the noon with the kasra, this does not represent anything related to the i'rab. So do not, when it comes to مثنى, don't look at the alama, don't look at the haraka at the end of the word. You know when it is مثنى, the alama that you're supposed to look at is the alif or the ya. So how to identify whether a مثنى is in the state of رفع? By looking at whether the word has an alif or it has a ya. Is it رجلان or is it رجلين? عرفتم? So the sign that matters here, the alama that represents that the word is in the state of rafa is alif. And when the مثنى is in the state of nasb or in the state of jar, then it contains a ya. رجلين رجلين. طيب. فمثلا, you want to say that two Muslims came. جاء المسلم.
ماني ومسلمين
جاء المسلمان. أحسنتم. I saw two Muslims. رأيت المسلم.
ميني
ومررت بالمسلم.
ميني
أحسنت. طيب. Two mu'mins, two believers came. جاء المؤمن.
نعم
جاء المؤمنان. ورأيت المؤمن.
نايني
نين. ومررت بالمؤمن.
ميني
أحسنتم. طيب.
مؤمنين
مؤمنين. ممتاز, الله يبارك فيكم. طيب. مثلا okay, you want to say the two sisters came. جاءت الأخ.
تاني
جاءت الأختان. رأيت الأخ.
تاني
أختين
ومررت بالأخ. تين. طيب, ما في مشكلة. أنتم لا ترضون أن تجيبوا, ما في إشكال. طيب. جاءت الأختان. رأيت الأختين. مررت بالأختين. واضح؟ Is that clear إن شاء الله؟
إن شاء الله.
طيب, المثنى. Everyone, is there any question regarding الاسم المفرد or المثنى or جمع التكسير يا إخوة and أخوات? 1 minute إن شاء الله. If there's any question, please ask in the chat or يعني, for the gents, and they can ask on the microphone as well. Is there any question with regards to al-ism al-mufrad and its i'rab, or muthanna and its i'rab, or jam' al-taksir and its i'rab? الظاهر الحمد لله أنه يعني كلنا قد فهم الاسم المفرد والمثنى وجمع التكسير. It seems that everyone has understood الاسم المفرد المثنى and جمع التكسير. ننتقل إلى الجمع السالم. So we said that we have two types of جمع سالم. We have جمع مذكر سالم and جمع مؤنث سالم. The جمع سالم of a مذكر and the جمع سالم of a مؤنث. When it comes to جمع سالم of a مذكر, if it is in the state of رفع, the علامة that it has that represents رفع is a واو. جاء المؤمنون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين. The mu'minun should not take up kafirin as their allies. لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء. طيب, can someone tell me in this ayah, let me just write it down here. لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين. Why do you think الآية طيب إلى آخره. Why do you think that المؤمنون had a واو and الكافرين had a ياء?
Because مؤمن was رفع and كافرين نصب.
أحسنت. It's نصب. مؤمنون is in the state of رفع because it's the doer. لا يتخذ. Who should not take up someone as allies? Who should not do this فعل? It's the مؤمنون because they're in the state of رفع. So مؤمنون. But the kafirin are the object. They are the maf'ul here. So it came as a, it's in the state of nasb. So it had a ya. طيب. From this, it becomes clear that the jam'a mudhakkar salim, the jam'a salim of a mudhakkar, in the state of rafa, it has a waw. جاء المؤمنون. As for the state of nasb and the state of jar, then it has a ya. رأيت المؤمنين مررت بالمؤمنين. طيب نأتي الآن إلى أمثلة أخرى. مثلا if let's just take the جمع مذكر سالم of Muslim. What is the جمع مذكر سالم of Muslim يا إخوة؟
مسلمون.
مسلمون.
طيب كيف نقول جاء المسلم؟ جاء المسلمون. رأيت المسلم؟
إين.
أحسنتم. ومررت بالمسلم؟ طيب مثلا كافر. What is the جمع سالم of كافر؟
كافرون.
كافرون. طيب جاء الكافي ورأيت الكافي
إين.
ومررت بالكافي. طيب مثلا let's take another example. اللاعبون. لاعبون يعني لاعب يعني player. الجمع of لاعب is لاعبون. طيب جاء اللاعب ورأيت اللاعب ومررت باللاعب. طيب what about the what at the end? بسم الله. What about the والله I'm not sure what you're referring to with MAY and معنى. What about the not sure? ما على كل حال. Can you, if you could just elaborate جزاك الله خير يعني أو جزاك الله خير. I'm not sure who is this person either.
ممكن المعاني.
المعاني. What about the usually it is مؤمنين. What about usually it is مؤمنين. Maini. Okay, what about the maini? Okay, what about the maini at the end? Okay, maini isn't مثنى, right? مؤمنين مررت بالمؤمنين مسلمين. In مؤمن in جمع سالم we have مينا. We don't have maini. We have مينا. So this is the difference between the two. I mean, this is something that you should be wary of, that you don't mix these two up. This is aini. This is ina. Or you can just write the suffixes that are supposed to be added here. For example, in Zaydun you add an un. Okay, مثلا you add an un. In Zaydan you add an an. Just write the suffixes in English. And kasra in. جاء الرجلان آني أيني مررت بالرجلين. Okay, جاء الرجال رأيت الرجال مررت بالرجال مثلا. جاء المؤمنون رأيت المؤمنين مررت بالمؤمنين. طيب جمع مؤنث سالم. The جمع سالم of a مؤنث. For example, مؤمنة, its جمع is مؤمنات. سماء. السماء, what is the جمع of السماء?
سماوات.
السماوات. طيب this is also جمع مؤنث سالم. مثلا مسلمة, what is the جمع of مسلمة?
مسلمات.
مسلمات. ممتاز. هذه بعض الأمثلة التي سنأخذها. Okay, we are saying that the believers, the female believers came. جاءت المؤمنات. رأيت المؤمنات مررت بالمؤمنات. أين يقع الفرق? Where is the change and difference occur? أين يقع التغير? Where is this change that is occurring? What is the difference between the three examples?
الحركة.
الحركة. Now it's not the letter anymore. In مثنى and in جمع سالم for مذكر, we had the letter that was changing. Or the waw was becoming ya. Here, it's the haraka that is changing. So the dhamma is becoming a kasra. The dhamma is becoming a kasra. So for example, when it is in the state of rafa, you say جاءت المؤمنات. تو. نعم. ورأيت المؤمنات.
تي.
ومررت بالمؤمنات.
تي.
أحسنتم. طيب. In آية الكرسي سماواتي has been mentioned in the state of نصب. طيب. وسع كرسيه السماوات, because it's in the state of نصب. So it has a kasra. So جمع مؤنث سالم would in the state of rafa have a dhamma. In the state of nasb and jar it will have a kasra. طيب مثلا عندنا المسلمة. جاءت المسلمة. ورأيت المسلمة.
تي.
ومررت بالمسلمة. تي طبعا. اوكي ممتاز. اوكي يا اخوان. If I remove the al, what will happen? جاءت مؤمنة. What will I say?
تن.
تن. أحسنت. When I remove the al, there will be a tanween at the end. In all of these, for example, even in جمع التكسير, when I'm saying جاء الرجال, because I added a al, it has the dhamma. But when I remove the al, it will be جاء رجال. رأيت رجالا. مررت برجال. طيب. In جاء زيد, if I use a noun with an al at its beginning, for example, I use جاء الرجل. رأيت الرجل. مررت بالرجل. So the tanween, whether there is a tanween or there is not a tanween, this has nothing to do with the i'rab. It has it's related to the al, whether this noun, does it have al? If it does not have al, then there will be tanween. If it does have al, there won't be any tanween. مثلا عرفتم يا إخوة? Is that clear? This is as far as اسم مفرد and جمع تكسير is concerned. طيب طبعا المثنى we don't have tanween ever. We don't say رجلين رجلان أبدا. You don't have tanween. The noon is the one that represents the tanween. Likewise in جمع سالم for مذكر جاء المؤمنون, you remove the al, there won't be any tanween. طيب جاء مؤمنون رأيت مؤمنين مررت بمؤمنين. However, in جمع سالم for مؤنث we have tanween. We say جاءت مؤمنات رأيت مؤمنات مررت بمؤمنات. So you can write this as well يعني in your notes that which words have a tanween without al and which types don't have a tanween without al. So ism mufrad has a tanween when it does not have al. Jam' taksir has a tanween when it does not have al. And jam' salim for mu'annath has a tanween when it does not have al. طيب. Okay. Al-mamnu'u min as-sarf. The name or the noun that does not contain tanween. That is forbidden from tanween. Why is it forbidden? What are the types of nouns that are forbidden from tanween? We mentioned them in the previous mas'ala or in the beginning of this mas'ala. Well, however, there are two states. There are two. Okay. Let's just first do the halat, the rafa' and nasb and jar, their alamat, and then we mention this further. Right. Al-mamnu' min as-sarf ya ikhwa. Let's take for example one of the names of the prophets, Ibrahim alayhi salam. When the mamnu' min as-sarf is in the state of rafa', it has a dhammah. فنقول جاء إبراهيم. When it is in the state of nasb, it takes a fatha. رأيت إبراهيم. Until here, it's very much similar to al-ism al-mufrad. The difference comes when it is in the state of jar. Al-mamnu' min as-sarf in the state of jar takes a fatha instead of a kasrah. Instead of a kasrah, the mamnu' min as-sarf takes a fatha in the state of jar. So we have for rafa' dhamma, for nasb fatha, for jar فتحة again. طيب يلا نبدأ الآن مثلا بإبراهيم عليه السلام. جاء إبراهيم رأيت إبراهيم مررت بإبراهيم. نأخذ اسما لنبي آخر. جاء إسماعيل
لو
رأيت إسماعيل
لا
مررت بإسماعيل
لا
أحسنت. جاء إسحاق
أو
رأيت إسحاق مررت بإسحاق. جاء يعقوب رأيت يعقوب مررت بيعقوب. أحسنتم. طيب نأخذ أمثلة أخرى مثلا إدريس. جاء إدريس رأيت إدريس مررت بإدريس. أحسنتم. Is this clear now? فتحة في محل جر. في محل جر؟ لا يا أخي، فتحة في محل جر ليس هكذا، ليس محل. نقول علامة كسر جره الفتحة لأنه ممنوع من الصرف. هو صح ليس محلي، ليس إعرابا محليا. This is an إعراب ظاهري. It's not إعراب محلي. This will come to that later إن شاء الله. طيب يا أخوان. One last example. Any other prophet whose name is أعجمي مثلا. هاي شباب. Any other prophet?
زكريا.
يلا. لا زكريا is it ends with an it's like saying Musa. So you have to come. It has some different treatment. We'll come to that later. In Surah Al-An'am, come. ونوحا هدينا داوود. جاء داوود رأيت داوود ومررت بداوود. طيب ممتاز. آخر إن شاء الله آخر واحد آخر نوع من هذه الأنواع السبعة الأسماء الخمسة. الأسماء الخمسة. The 5 nouns, the 5 special nouns. أبوك، أخوك، حموك، فوك, وذو مال. When they are in the state of رفع, they contain a vowel. The علامة of رفع, the علامة of رفع is واو. جاء أبوك، جاء أبوك. رأيت أباك. When it's in the state of نصب, it takes the علامة of ألف as the علامة for نصب. And when it's in the state of جر, مررت بأبيك. The علامة of جر is إيا. نطبق هذا في أخوك. جاء for أخوك, how will we say جاء؟
جاء أخوك.
رأيت
أخاك.
ومررت
أخيك.
طيب جاء for حمو, how will you say it؟ جاء
عموك.
رأيت
عماك.
ومررت
حميك.
طيب طبعا the mouth cannot come, so we cannot say جاء فوك, لكن مثلا نقول انفتح, your mouth opened. انفتح مثلا أو فتح فوك. ورأيت, نعم ورأيت
فاك.
نعم ومررت
فيك.
نعم, as if his mouth is يعني something on the side. طيب مررت بفيك. okay. ذو مال. جاء ذو مال.
ذو مال.
ورأيت
ذا مال.
ذا مال. أحسنت. ورأيت ذا مال. ومررت
ذي مال.
أحسنتم. ومررت بذي مال. الله يبارك فيكم ويفتح عليكم. طيب. Okay. But how to memorize this? It's so difficult. So much practice. That's it. Memorize it. Repeat it. Write this table down. Inshallah, I'll be sharing the table without these examples. Write examples. Practice writing these tables again and again and again. All of these tables, whether it's the table of dhamir, it's the table of ma'rifah, other types of ma'rifah, whether it's the table of the asma al-mu'raba, just keep practicing them. And whenever you are reading the Quran, just keep your eyes open and just look for, try to identify whether it's an ism mufrad, whether it's muthanna, whether it's jam' taksir, whether it's jam' salim, whether it's mamnu' min as-sarf, whether it's from the asma al-khamsa. I'm not going to be asking any questions from the Quran today. I would give you time to revise what we have studied and learned today with regards to asma al-mu'raba. And inshallah, on the class on Friday, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we will inshallah open a page from the Quran, and I will be asking you, is this mu'rab or is it mabni? Okay, if it's mu'rab, what type of mu'rab is it? Is it ism mufrad or muthanna or jam' taksir or jam' salim or mamnu' min as-sarf or min asma al-khamsa? This will be the question. Then we'll say, okay, what is the alama of rafa' here? Or what is the alama of nasb? Or what is its alama of jar? هكذا سنسأل أسئلة كثيرة بإذن الله تعالى يوم الجمعة. بقي شيء. Before we end, there is one important thing, and that is that the asma that are mamnu' min as-sarf, write this down, that the asma that are mamnu' min as-sarf, they are treated, mamnu' min as-sarf, they are treated, when it comes to i'rab, they are treated as mamnu' min as-sarf with a dhamma fatha fatha. They are treated with a dhamma fatha fatha in this order when it comes to i'rab, as long as they, number one, do not have al at the beginning. It do not contain al. If they have al, like in masabih, they will be treated as what? They will be treated as jam' taksir masabih, because it has al in it. Likewise, if for example, if there is a proper noun for from the mu'annath, let's say Hamza. If let's suppose if we added al to it and became al Hamza, it will no longer be treated like a mamnu' min as-sarf. It will be treated like an ism mufrad. So al mamnu' min as-sarf is treated as a mamnu' min as-sarf as long as it does not have al, and as long as they are not mudaf. If they are mudaf, then they would be treated يعني as اسم مفرد, as جمع تكسير وهكذا. We just write this down and don't ask for explanation right now. Don't ask for examples right now because we don't want the students to get confused. Just write this down with next to الممنوع من الصرف, and later on inshallah we'll be explaining and studying this. For now we want us ourselves to just memorize the 7 types of asma mu'raba, their alamat, and develop in ourselves the ability to identify these 7 different types of asma mu'raba. والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.